So what if we knew how to keep ourselves healthy? Now, the word knew would imply, of course, that we had achieved health to begin with. No easy feat. When the CDC is telling us that 1 in 2 Americans has at least one chronic disease, we are facing a chronic healthcare epidemic. And it's not just physical disease that's a problem. I want to tell you about my friend Connor. I had a summer in Ghost Ranch, this beautiful place in New Mexico, during college where I was leading outdoor adventure trips. We were going hiking, we were going kayaking and canoeing. We were leading high ropes courses and low ropes courses. My favorite part was we were taking groups to hot springs. And it was this wonderful experience. Connor was a great guy, good friend, and a colleague doing outdoor adventure work with me together. I kept in touch with him after that time. And a few years later, I got a call from one of Connor's family. And they told me that they had found him. But it was too late. Connor had committed suicide. Health is about more than just the absence of physical disease. Right? What good is health without happiness? And we need a broader definition for health. We need to understand that health includes happiness and mental well-being. And what about purpose? How about living our dreams? Is that important? Should that be included in the definition of health as well? What if we're just happy and healthy physically and emotionally well off, but there's no vision, there's no direction, we have no inspiration? What do we do with that health and happiness? Watch more Netflix? Some funny cat videos, maybe? And that might be fun for a little while, but how do we really take health to the next level? We need to include living our dreams. We need to include purpose. So we are redefining health here today. Our definition for health is a dynamic movement towards our potential. I'm going to repeat that. Health is a dynamic movement towards our potential. Unhealthful choices are those which move us away from our highest and best version of ourselves. And our potential includes physical vitality, includes happiness regardless of circumstances, and includes an inspired sense of purpose. If we knew how to keep ourselves healthy, we would have an expanded definition for health, and we would consistently take action to move towards our potential.
Is health the segregation of medicine? When we began to segregate medicine by disease, did we lose the fact that what is happening in the gut, what is happening in the liver, could actually affect what's happening in the skin, the hormonal system, and other areas of the body? Functional medicines began to solve this, right? Functional medicines really began to see that the body is more than just the sum of its parts. However, we believe that functional medicine is evolving even beyond here. And where we see functional medicine going is what we call mindfulness medicine. And there's 4 pillars with mindfulness medicine: body, mind, community, and environment. Segregation is alienation. Can you imagine constructing a building and believing that the strength of a nail has nothing to do with the actual foundation of the frame? Yet we do this all the time in medicine. Here's one of hundreds of studies showing that one part of the body, here the microbiome, is related to other parts of the body, here the cardiovascular system. And so what do? If we knew how to keep ourselves healthy, we would understand that in order to work with one part of the body, we actually need to work with all parts of the body. And so how do we do that? So of course it's the basics, right? So it's the proper food. It's the right exercise. Not too little, but as Dr. Jill said, not too much either. And it's sleep, and it's not compensating sleep with extra caffeine and extra sugar. And it's advanced lab tests, right? So if somebody has a gut dysfunction, we're not just going to do advanced lab tests on the gut. We're going to look at the whole body. So we're going to look at nutrient imbalances and toxic burden and hormones and immune and cardiometabolic, chronic infections, and genetics.
Luckily, medicine is beginning to understand more about the importance of the mind, and functional medicine doctors are speaking about stress and understanding the relationship between stress and cortisol and cardiovascular disease risk. Unfortunately, depression is on the rise. The National Centers for Health Sciences have come out and said 400% increase in antidepressant medication use from the early 1990s to the early 2000s. And the federal government statisticians have told us that 1 in 10 Americans is taking an antidepressant drug. So we really have a situation where we have to start to understand that the mind and the body are not separate. We have a single mind-body process. Let's treat them as one. And in order to do that, we need to look at researched practices like meditation, mindfulness practices that have been researched to improve cardiovascular health outcomes, to reduce cardiovascular disease risk, improve immune function, reduce anxiety and depression, who have been able to be shown in research to improve mood and to improve focus and productivity. So we believe that the evolution of functional medicine, of mindfulness medicine, will also include mind root causes for disease as well. And we'll flesh this out in a little bit more detail than simply just talking about stress or meditation. We'll talk about trauma. We'll talk about abuse. We'll talk about addictions and how they prevent people from getting well. We'll talk about social isolation and the risks. We'll talk about fear, greed, blame, negative beliefs and attitudes. We'll talk about lack of purpose. We'll talk about attachment to outcome. If we knew how to keep ourselves healthy, we would implement research practices like mindfulness and meditation on a daily basis.
So let's talk about social. So this particular study showed that social isolation is a bigger risk factor for all-cause mortality than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And there's more research out here that shows that the parasympathetic nervous system is improved in its function with facial expression. So guess what this means? As much as social media is awesome, it does not make up for community. So if we knew how to keep ourselves healthy, we would be out doing things like we're doing tonight, creating community.
Recent research and compelling evidence shows us that things like mycotoxin from mold, toxic byproducts from chronic infections, chemicals in plastics are increasing the body burden of toxin. And it's very clear that about 1 in 2 American homes are water damaged. And about 1 in 4 people are genetically predisposed to not be able to appropriately detoxify those toxins from mold and who are accumulating those toxins. And there's a connection between fatigue, between autoimmunity, between several of the chronic disease processes that we're facing today and a chronic inflammatory response syndrome, or CIRS, that we can see from mycotoxin accumulation. And we also see air pollution. We also see pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and metals in foods. We also see plastics and chemicals in plastics, like bisphenol A, which has been found. It's so ubiquitous. It's been found in 93% of the urine of infants, show detectable levels of BPA. And these infants have no known exposure to BPA. It's so epidemic. And the BPA-free plastics, not necessarily better. Some of the phthalates, some of the other chemicals are as harmful or even more. Let's face it, we live in a toxic world. And if we knew how to keep ourselves healthy, we would minimize toxin exposure. And if we had accumulated toxin, we would implement steps and strategies to reduce that toxic burden. Now, education is important. The Dalai Lama has said that the cause of suffering is ignorance. Now, by ignorance, he did not mean stupidity. He meant lack of understanding, lack of education. So, education is incredibly important, and we live in a great time. We have access to tons of information. Information isn't the issue. For us, the issue is what to learn, who to trust, and how to implement that information into our day-to-day lives. That's what's really important. And we have preventive diagnostic lab testing, which is fantastic. Growing up, my father, Andy, was a medical doctor specializing in public health, and he was also a state senator. And he worked tirelessly to help underprivileged populations have access to health care and access to resources. He changed the world. He inspired me that I can make a difference. When I was 15 years old, I got a call from a family friend. My father had passed suddenly and unexpectedly from a heart attack. I really wish that I had had labs like this then, advanced cardiovascular labs. I really wish I had the understandings from functional medicine then, that I could have ordered a comprehensive blood test with lipids like this, with inflammatory markers, with thyroid markers, with metabolic markers. I really wish that I could have done that. Maybe then we could have made changes preventively. Maybe then he could be here in the audience tonight.
So health is a journey. It's not a destination. Every day we wake up and we're given a choice. Every moment of every day we're given a choice to make decisions that move us towards our health goals or away from them. And these decisions, they begin as soon as we wake up in the morning, as soon as we open our eyes. We're given a choice to greet the day with positivity and gratitude or with stress. And these types of choices play out in our day, and they affect the way we move, the way we drive, the way we interact with people at the grocery store. And sometimes we make the wrong choice. And then we are given another choice to forgive ourselves, to forgive others, and to make efforts to do better the next time. So with every moment, we have a choice to choose to move towards health with a loving attitude or not to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.